Henna Choi, welcome to the 5-Year Plan.
Thank you for having me.
You are a former corporate personal injury lawyer turned content creator. You are known on social media as 18 Hens.
Mm-hmm.
What does 18 Hens mean?
People ask me this all the time. It was literally my handle from high school.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I never intended on this becoming my career or a business. But at that point, it was too late, and I just never changed it. So that's all it is.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is Hens like a nickname?
Sort of. Like 18 is my favorite number / the day I was born, and then it was like hen at first, but then I put an S on it because people thought I was talking about chickens. I don't know. It was so dumb. And I think about changing it all the time.
Really?
But people tell me it's too late. So it is what it is.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah.
funny. I would have never thought that.
Yeah, I know.
Well, good for you for like, I don't know. I'm thinking about like my old emails and stuff. My
Yes.
emails. At least it's not like Soccer Girl 103.
Yeah,
or
I know.
something.
Thank God.
Well, you have built a following of almost 700,000 people on TikTok and Instagram combined. And that's honestly not a surprise to me because you are one of the most genuine, authentic creators I've ever seen.
Thank you.
People love your transparency around your own struggles with mental health, and like the candid nature that you bring to all of your videos. So I actually want to start off with a question about one of those videos.
Yes.
You recently posted a video where you spoke about how you feel like you've always been meant to achieve something very big, but you feel like you're nowhere near achieving it.
Mm-hmm.
So my question for you is, where does your desire to be great come from?
Mm-hmm. So I had to really reassess my whole life after that video because I got thousands of comments from people giving me really good, very different advice about what dreams are and how to accomplish them realistically, when to know to give up. And I think when I asked myself what it means to be great, I've always looked up to artists and creatives and people who could not only make a living doing something they love, but also impacting other people in a positive way just by being themselves. And when I was a lawyer, I did not feel that way at all. I knew I was helping people, but it all felt very inauthentic. And even though, on paper, I guess the career itself is great, it just didn't align with, I guess, what my soul felt was greatness. And that's really, I think, what I meant by that.
So the reason why that video struck a chord in me is because I think for two reasons. One, I very much so resonate with that. Like I feel very similarly in the sense that I've always wanted to achieve something great as well and impact a lot of people, but I feel like I'm not really there yet. And two, because I think what you said in that video very much so surprised me because I look at you as someone who's achieved that. So like, help me understand what's missing, or what do you feel like is missing from your definition of great that you don't see in yourself right now?
Right. Very good question. And a lot of comments actually said the same thing: is what do you mean? Like, you have these many followers and you're doing something you love. Like, how could you not be happy? And I think on the one hand, it's true that I do have, like a lot of people, a bad habit of never feeling as grateful as I should for where I'm at, looking at my life very critically. And then on the other hand, I'm not sure. On the other hand, I feel like there's just always something more I could be doing. And I don't know when I would feel like, yes, I've made it. But I think like I have these desires to, create more, whether it's beyond just content or, try other things. And because of, and I know we'll probably get into that later, but because of my mental health and my neurodivergence, I do have a disability and I feel like I can't get there, and it's very frustrating. So I think that's what caused me to turn my camera on that day and just like vent. Because I was very frustrated with wanting to do things and feeling like I wasn't able to.
Right. I hope you know that, like, I'm glad that people were very supportive and you received a lot of support, because I hope you know that I think, like, probably one of the things that makes you so successful in what you do right now is because you have such high standards for yourself, right? And um, it's one of those things where it's like, it's hard to see how far you've climbed
Mhm.
without looking down, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Help me understand how much of what you just said stems from how you grew up.
Hmm. Um, well, I don't know what your parents were like, but mine were very Asian. It was literally doctor or lawyer. I had no other choice. And my mom, I remember when I was in grade 5 or something, very young, I told my mom that I don't like blood, so I don't want to be a doctor. And she did not take that very well at all. I don't think she spoke to me for like a week or something. It was very traumatizing. And I think that's when I realized I felt like I didn't have a choice. So, I mean, like a lot of us, my parents immigrated here with nothing, and you carry that weight of their sacrifice. And you also realize like you're kind of smart, like you can,
Yeah.
if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish things and bring honor to your family. So you feel like you have no other choice. So I dedicated my entire life since I was in grade 5 to becoming a lawyer.
Wow.
And that's what I did.
From that one conversation where you said, like, doctor's out because I don't like blood.
Yeah.
And then you just felt like, okay, well, then that only leaves lawyer.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, I resonate with that a lot because I also, when we were talking about this before we started filming,
Mhm.
but like I also immigrated here from China and, grew up in like Western society, but obviously my parents are Chinese and had a lot of those traditional values brought onto me. But for someone who like doesn't understand what that's like, can
Mhm.
you explain what that was like for you?
It yeah, and this is where like how I grew up and the culture really intersects with, I guess, my autism and my neurodivergence, because the thing I almost felt like I had it like double as bad because
Mm.
on top of feeling like I was not allowed to pursue my own interests or be myself because of my parents and their expectations, my whole family actually. I also felt like I couldn't be myself because I didn't know it at the time, but I am autistic. And you grow up, especially at the level that at level 1 that I am, you grow up learning how to behave and how to find love through the acceptance of others. And so my whole life, it felt like I was just pretending to be someone in order to get that love and acceptance from people, like my direct family members, but also to kind of just pass under people's radar, as normal. And
Mm.
so that pressure was like it was a lot, and
Yeah.
I guess it all bubbled up when I actually became a lawyer, and that became my reality.
I assume you didn't know at the time that
Hmm.
that's what was happening.
Yeah,
Did that make it harder?
definitely,
Right.
definitely. That's why if I ever have kids in the future, like I do want to make sure that they know as much about themselves as early as possible, because it I basically grew up feeling, I mean, everybody called me the black sheep of my family,
Mm.
and that never really feels good,
Yeah.
but on top of that, like, you just constantly gaslight yourself and feel like there's something wrong with me, or I'm not a good daughter, or
Right.
like I'm never gonna make it in the way that people want me to. Yeah.
Can I ask why you were called the black sheep? Like, what was meant by that?
Uh, yeah, like I was always just very like quirky, I guess. Like my cousins were all very like, I don't know, tame. Like they appear very normal on paper. And then growing up, like I was that kid where, yeah, like I was like emo, I was like seen, like I would dress weird, I would, talk back to people. I had a
Huh.
temper, like I just,
Huh.
as much as I was forcing myself to like be in that mold, I was always resisting it, and I think
Mm.
that's what my relatives saw.
I feel like it's also difficult, especially in Asian cultures, because mental health isn't really recognized. Like I think
Yeah.
it's probably changed a little bit now,
Yeah.
but the idea that like something could be going on internally that
Hmm.
wasn't like a body part, but like something in your mind, that's just like not a concept that at least like my Asian parents were able to fathom. Was that the same for you?
Yeah, and you know what? So I don't talk a whole lot about this on my in my content, but I think it was in 2015 or so. I had a TIA, which is a mini stroke, and like we're still to this day looking into why that happened. There are arteries in my brain that are narrowing,
Oh my gosh.
and that's usually caused by it could be caused by a lot of different things, but chronic stress is a very big factor. And growing up constantly masking and also constantly battling severe mental health issues, I was always stressed. And then I go to university, I start abusing alcohol, I start doing all these things under the guise of like, I'm a normal university student, but I was doing it to feel normal and kind of escape my problems. And that obviously did not help. And so in 2015, I had my mini stroke. And that was the first time my parents looked at my mental health as something serious, because otherwise I was healthy. And like my parents, leading up until that point, I had a lot of different health issues, to the point where like my mom was sending me off to Korea to do like all these body scans, and I did a colonoscopy because she thought I had Crohn's disease. I don't know. It was like a whole thing. But
Like when you were a
everything,
kid?
oh no, when I was in
Like,
university,
oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
And then it all came back to she's just very stressed out.
Yeah.
So I
Gee.
think that event was what really opened my parents' eyes to how serious untreated mental health can be.
Hmm.
And if it weren't for that, I don't know if they would be so understanding today.
Right.
Hmm.
Well, one of the questions that I had for you was because something that you've said, and you've been, obviously very open with your mental health journey, but something that you've said before is that you've been struggling with high functioning depression and anxiety for over 10 years now.
Hmm.
And what I wanted to ask you about was like, what did that actually look like in your day-to-day life?
Hmm.
And did people know? Like, did your family or your friends see it?
Right. So the term like high functioning, I had heard that the first time from a therapist I was seeing. I think I was in university. But basically, what it looks like is on the outside, everything's fine. On the outside, I'm a high achiever. I'm,
Mhm.
I'm doing well in school. I have friends. I have social skills. But behind closed doors, I'm barely surviving. I'm barely able to eat. I can't sleep. I can't clean for myself. I can't even clean myself. Like it was a lot of falling apart when no one was watching,
Mhm.
and in the public eye, just thriving from other people's perspective.
Was that something that your like family or friends ever saw, or you kept it pretty?
Yeah, like so I mean now I look back, and a lot of that I see from a different lens, and that lens being like autism,
Mhm.
neurodivergence, and masking is something that autistic, well, and ADHD, well, anyone really neurodivergent does to appear as normal as they can.
Mm.
And I was doing that all the time anyways, and I think when it came to my mental health I was doing it even more. And so my parents would notice that. Like my mom would always say, oh my gosh, if anyone saw you outside, they would never guess how messy and how
Mm.
dysfunctional you were. When my best friend would always say the same thing, is like I would tell her like I'm nervous to do this outside or meet these people, and she'd be like, you're fine. You're gonna burn out after, but you're fine. And so like yeah, like the people closest to me knew that, but no one else would ever guess.
Right. I mean, I guess you at the time didn't even know that you were dealing with all of these things.
Hmm.
Like it probably just seemed like day-to-day life
Yeah.
for you.
Right. Yeah. And that's what's so challenging is when you don't know why something is happening,
Yeah.
you can't help but blame yourself, right? Like
Right.
I'm a full-fledged adult, I'm a full-fledged lawyer, and I can't even wash the dishes. I can't even do my laundry. I can't even, I
Yeah.
can't even get to work on time. Like what's wrong with me? And so that was a really difficult thing to deal with.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I just want to go back in time to when you were younger, because something that you've said before is that when you were younger, you wanted to be an artist. So who are you to your core?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot recently, and I think, yeah, at the core, I am an artist. I think where I find the most joy in life, and the most success in the conventional sense is when I'm creating things, from my heart that resonate with other people, that that start conversations with other people, that make other people feel things or think about their lives differently. Again, I didn't know it at the time, but I've always struggled to have or maintain friends. I only have really like one or two friends in my life. And I think inherently I am lonely. And I think when I create art and I put it out there into the world, and I see that there are so many people out there that not only feel the same way, but, they're going through it. And it's my way of feeling connected with humanity. Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to.
It's very interesting to hear you say that, because like every time I watch a video of yours, it resonates with me in a way that I feel like other videos of other creators don't. Like it just it's almost as if you're speaking to me, or like to my soul. So it's interesting to hear you see that, or hear you say that, because that's where I guess it comes from.
Yeah. I think that's what's beautiful about art, is that it's not, like the type of content out there that tries to tell you how to feel or tell you what to do. It's very it's a bit much. Like I don't try to tell people how they should feel or how they should behave or think, but by sharing what I'm going through in that moment, I think organically just resonates with people, because we're all the same at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we all have the same struggles, but just different flavors of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you eventually attend one of the best law schools in the country, Osgoode Hall. But you've actually previously said that as early as day 2,
Yeah.
you knew it was wrong for you.
Yeah.
How did you know?
I was sweating. I was sitting in those classes, and I was like, on the one hand, it was cool because you could feel the passion of everyone in the room, and you could feel that everyone worked just as hard as you to get there. But just like the things I was learning, even on day 2, it was really difficult for me to wrap my head around. And me trying to even make friends was really hard. Like, it was just a completely different experience. But I think more than that, it was just, I kind of knew, like, even as I was applying for law school, even as I got my acceptance letter, like, damn, I'm like really in the deep end now. Like, there's no escape now. Like, I have flown way too close to the sun, and now, like, it was, I think it just the reality of like, wow, I really faked it till I made it, and like the panic just set in. The school itself was great. The few times that I did go to class, the school itself was great. It was a me thing for sure. Yeah.
Because you just said something about how even the things that you were learning, it gave you a feeling of this wasn't for you. Can you give an example of what you mean by that?
Yeah. So in undergrad, I majored in women's studies and equity studies, with a specialty in like race and disability studies. So I was very much a humanitarian type of girl. I went to law school thinking, well, if I'm gonna do this, I might as well save the world or something, like I went in with those intentions.
Yeah.
And it became very clear to me very early on that that's not really what law is about.
Yeah.
And like, as an autistic person, when I feel that something is unfair or unjust, I get incredibly angry about it. And like, it just felt like, okay, like there are all these problems, and I thought I became a lawyer to fix it or contribute to society, but really this is about fitting into what already exists, and making a shitty situation. Am I allowed to swear? Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
Making a shitty situation just a little less shitty. I don't know. It just didn't. Yeah. It didn't do it for me.
So something that I struggle with, and I imagine a lot of people do, is knowing the difference between disliking something because it's hard for me in the moment,
yeah,
versus knowing something is fundamentally wrong for me.
Yeah.
And it sounds like what you just said about law, like your feeling on day 2, was that you knew that it was fundamentally wrong for you.
Yeah.
How do you distinguish the two?
That is a really good question. Because I think I still to this day struggle with the idea that I quit law because I just wasn't smart enough or I wasn't good enough. I wasn't strong enough to handle it while my peers have all, climbed up in the corporate ladders and stuff. I think I was thinking about this on my drive here actually. Like everybody's threshold is different. Law, there are people, and I've seen with my own eyes, there are people who love the law. They love what they do. It's like a game to them. There's something about lawyering that is very fulfilling for certain people. And then there are other people who don't necessarily love it, but there are aspects to the job that keep them there, such as helping people or a certain part of the job that feels fun and fulfilling. For me, like I hated all of it. For me, there was not one thing. The one thing I enjoyed about my brief time as a lawyer was literally my boss. I loved her. She was great. Other than that, I really did not like any part of it. I didn't like talking to clients. I didn't like filing things. All of the deadlines were really stressful for me. I hated appearing in court. I hated research. There was literally not one redeeming factor for me. And so that's kind of how I on the surface knew that I did not like this. But then also there was this, again, going back to the beginning of our conversation, this feeling inside me that I just wasn't living my most authentic life and that I was wasting my life. And that feeling was so much stronger than even me disliking doing research or whatever.
Yeah.
And it to the point where it affected my health. And I think that was a very clear indication for me that this goes beyond just not liking my job.
Right. Can I ask, why did you keep going?
Well, I mean, you know how expensive law school is.
Yes, true.
That was a big thing. The other thing was just, every time I call my grandparents, the first thing, they don't even ask me how I'm doing. They go, how's being a lawyer? They still don't know, by the way, that I'm not a lawyer.
Really?
Yeah, I have to lie through my teeth. It's horrible. Anyway, like just the pride,
Yeah.
of all of my relatives being like, oh, we have a lawyer in the family. And
Yeah.
just, again, the gaslighting of myself thinking like, I'm just not strong enough. Like, I just gotta lock in. I just gotta,
Do more.
do more. Exactly. Like the reason why I'm not happy is my fault. Like, I just kept thinking like that. And that's what kept me going.
Yeah.
But, operating with that negativity it will not last you very long, it turns out.
Do you think you'll ever tell your grandparents?
Honestly, I would rather they just peacefully pass away believing what they want to
Yeah.
believe. It's not,
Yeah.
they don't need to know.
They
It's
don't need
fine.
to know. They don't need to
I
know.
really don't think they need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you eventually post a video on TikTok, which you titled Realistic Morning Routine of a Depressed Lawyer. And that video has received, and I just checked this number last night, actually.
really?
So
I
it's up
haven't
to
seen
date.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
But it has received 10.2 million
Oh,
views.
yeah. Yeah.
But what I didn't realize until last night is that how many videos you had even prior to that one where you spoke very openly about your struggles with mental health. Why was it always so important for you to speak this openly about your mental health?
First of all, I didn't think anyone was going to watch any of my stuff. So it was like, it felt like journaling. Like, I was just like, whatever, no one's going to see this. And so that gave me the comfort that, yeah, like I really believed the internet was a safe space at that time. I just put it all out there. But also, like, I did know that there are a lot of people who, like, younger than I am, who have these, dreams of being a lawyer for whatever reason. And I didn't want to, like, rain on their parade or anything, but I just wanted to give a realistic or like a different, perspective on what it could look like.
Yeah.
And for some reason that was important to me. Because everyone I had spoken to when I was that age, they never, ever told me about, like, why law isn't all that, or, some of the struggles that I might face. They were always like, yeah, go for it, you know? And so I think that's what it was. But ultimately, I just really didn't think anyone would see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair to you, like at the time, TikTok was still like a very new
Yeah.
app, right?
Yeah, it's
People
true.
weren't, other than like dancing videos, people weren't really posting anything else.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 So this is something that you've already alluded to, but I want to go a bit deeper, which is like there's this misconception that still continues to exist in not just law, but a lot of these high functioning professions, which is that struggling with mental health makes you unreliable
Mm-hmm.
or weak, right? But you were posting these videos on social media while you were still working full time as a lawyer. First off, I guess, where do you think that sentiment comes from? Like, why is that so pervasive in these type of industries?
Mm-hmm. Well, ableism, right? Like I think that's really what it comes down to is just discrimination against people who have mental health issues, neurodivergencies, this idea that you have to be like a perfect functioning able body in order to deliver results. I understand where that comes from. And obviously, being Korean, like those standards are like the standards of everything are very high. So I understand where that comes from. But like I knew just how unrealistic that was. And every other lawyer I was friends with or talking to at the time, they were all struggling with something. Like there's a reason why alcoholism is so prevalent in this
And
profession,
drugs.
right? And drug use, yeah. Like there's a reason.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm not saying everyone should be open and candid about their alcoholism or drug use, but it's okay. In my opinion, it's okay to acknowledge the more human parts of who you are. And honestly, when I posted those videos, like I actually got way more positive feedback from people saying, like, I would so much rather know my lawyer knows what mental health problems feel like
Mm.
versus someone who doesn't. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously there were some hate comments saying like I would never trust you.
Hire you.
Yeah, and
Man.
it's like okay,
Yeah.
cool, like that's
Then
fine.
don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I really don't care. You're probably not even Canadian. It's fine. Like it's just like yeah,
Yeah, Joe 39265.
literally. Yeah.
Um, yeah, what you said about the like alcohol and drug use is so true. I remember being in law school and people would literally use cocaine to
Hmm.
study. Like they would
That's crazy.
do a line of coke and then they would study.
Whoa. That
Yeah.
I did not. Whoa. Back in my day, it was just Adderall, but like, damn. Okay.
We've upgraded apparently.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk a bit about the video. So you post the video, it blows up. You receive a ton of publicity.
Hmm.
Uh, BuzzFeed wrote an article about you.
Yeah.
Business Insider wrote an article about you. Were you worried at all at that time about like what your colleagues or what your firm would say about it?
So when I mentioned that I loved my boss, like that is an understatement. She is the most unconventional lawyer like you'll ever meet. Like when I first met her, she had like black hair with like bright blue highlights, and she at our interview, I pretty much told her like I'm not even sure if I want to do this. I'm just here, and
Really?
she like we ended up talking for 2 hours, and she hired me solely based on the fact that we get along.
Wow.
And so when I was
Wow.
struggling, and I had to work from home, or I had to come into the office like an hour later or whatever, she would always give me that accommodation. And so when word got out that I was like kind of blowing up on TikTok, everyone at my firm was just so excited for me. They were like, "This is so like fun! What a great opportunity for you!" But also like plug our firm. This is a great time. Yeah, so they were
Wow.
nothing but supportive. However, there was one time where I was listening in on my colleague's discovery, and they like it was a break, and everybody was like they thought, well, my colleague put himself on mute, and they thought he had left the room, and I could hear them talking amongst themselves saying, "Oh, isn't this the firm where that like depressed lawyer on TikTok, she works there?" They were like, "Yeah, like oh my gosh, maybe we should ask him when he comes back if like she brushed her teeth this morning." Like, and they were like kind of making those kind
Making
of jokes.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And I was just listening to this like, whoa, like I guess, yeah, like, I live in my own bubble of like supportive, nice people. And then I realized like there are definitely people who don't share that sentiment.
Right.
But it really didn't bother me because I expected it a little bit. Like I knew there it was going to be a polarizing thing
Right.
amongst us, like in the profession. So
Yeah.
it was fine. But that was interesting. Yeah.
Wow. Geez. I mean, I can't even imagine like hearing that, you
Yeah.
know? Like in that moment, I mean, now I'm glad that you have so much like support and positivity because you deserve that and what you're doing is truly amazing. But I can imagine that something like that would be like, you know,
Yeah. Well, you know,
yeah, whatever.
yeah, you really can't win them all. You really can't.
Yeah,
So,
you can't. Yeah. So I want to ask you some questions about like your transition out of law. But you had said something to me when you and I first spoke on the phone, which was that your decision to leave law was quite literally a life or death situation.
yeah.
Would you feel comfortable sharing like what you meant by that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I touched on it earlier, but the stroke happened, or the mini stroke happened. And like, yeah, like the videos I was posting on TikTok, they were funny. They were supposed to be funny. Like, day in the life of a lawyer who's depressed as fuck, and it was supposed to be funny, but like I was really struggling. Like I was like and I've been open about this as well, but I started having, suicidal ideations, and I was calling crisis lines, and like it was getting to a point where I was starting to scare myself a little bit. And so when COVID happened and a lot of personal injury firms took a hit just because like the clinics weren't open to their full capacity and things were slowing down, and it was just a horrible situation. My firm was thinking about like rearranging a few things and maybe firing some people, and I was like, hold on, just like if anyone's gonna go, I think it should be me because I'm not doing so well and I just need to take a little break. So
Wow.
we talked, and it was just like the best decision at the time. And so yeah, I left, and I look back at it on that decision, and it did really save my life because I honestly don't know what would have happened if I kept forcing myself to stay.
Well, actually, that was exactly the question I was going to ask you
Yeah.
next is like, what do you think would have happened if you stayed?
I really
Yeah.
don't know. I normally, yeah, like I would like to think that I would have done something about it, but
Yeah.
um, it was a pretty scary decision, and it kind of felt like the universe was helping me make
The
it
right.
easier.
Yeah.
And without that, I don't know if I would have left, and I don't know if I would be here today. Like I really don't know.
Because how many years had you practiced up until that point?
So it was so I summered there, I articled there, and then I started working there immediately after. So I think like all in all, I think I was at that firm for maybe like 4 years.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, but only like a little over a year of practicing.
As a
Yeah, as a
lawyer.
yeah.
Yeah. For someone who's listening to this episode and who is struggling with their mental health, but they're worried about how they might be perceived by others in the professional sphere,
Yeah.
what would you say to that person?
Um, it sounds dramatic, but it is kind of a matter of life or death. Like to do something about your health because the mental health challenges, neurodivergencies, all of that are invisible, and the only person that knows the extent of what's going on is you. I know there are a lot of great resources out there. It doesn't have to be a public thing. Like you don't have to do what I did and tell millions of people that you're struggling, but you should tell at least somebody. And like it just like when I say it's a matter of life or death, it's again, it sounds really dramatic, but your quality of life really depends on you being healthy on all fronts.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think we see that a lot with physical health,
Yeah.
right? Like for years, there's been people saying and advocating for like, you have to take care of your body, you have to exercise, you have to eat healthy, whatever. But I think it's only been in recent years that people are starting to realize you need to do that with your mind and your like soul as well.
Yeah.
You eventually do leave law, and you broke the internet again because you decided to work at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
I had read that the story behind that is that you were invited to the grand opening of Columbus Cafe as an
Yes.
influencer.
Yes.
And then you found out they were hiring and then you applied.
Basically, yeah.
Walk me through that decision. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, I was like really lost. I mean, I still feel lost, but at that time I was like I've always really loved coffee, and I was like literally about to pay for a very expensive barista course, but then it just occurred to me like, why not learn and get paid at the same time? You know, I missed, like, as much as I hated the 9 to 5 thing, I missed having like structure a little bit, like that imposed structure. So I was like, why not? Like, it was literally just I didn't think that much about it.
Yeah.
And when I posted that video, I knew some people would be like, whoa, that's kind of weird, but I didn't think it would blow up like it did.
Yeah.
I guess because people assumed that I left lawyering to become a barista forever. And I think that's why it was so sensationalized, but that wasn't the truth behind that
Yeah.
decision. Yeah, it was.
What was that like in real time, like seeing yourself blow up with that narrative?
I felt kind of like a fraud. I was like, oh my gosh, I think people think that I'm like I left it all to become a barista. Like, yeah, I felt very like an imposter kind of. Like being at the cafe, I definitely felt weird, but like it was a learning experience. And it was fun until it wasn't, but yeah, like I really didn't think much of it, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's a privilege, right? Like I had the time to explore other things, and I know a lot of people don't have that, and so I was just full on literally like YOLO mode at that time. Yeah.
Can I ask though, and like you sort of alluded to this in your earlier answer, but you went from, and I would imagine a lot of structure all throughout your life to all of a sudden not having that structure anymore.
Yeah.
What was that like? Like, what was was that challenging for you?
It was liberating, and it was also terrifying. Like, one thing about my autism is I flourish with routine. Like, I have to do the same thing over and over again to feel safe. And I didn't realize that until recently. So when I first left the lawyer thing, and then my life became, I woke up every day and I was like, what am I doing? Like, what's on the agenda today? And it was fun for a bit, but it quickly became very, I don't know what the word is. It just quickly became disorienting.
Yeah.
And I still struggle with that today. I'm a lot better with kind of imposing my own routines, and it helps me feel like a productive member of society. But when I don't have that, it's pretty bad. It's bad for my mental health for sure.
When you stopped being a lawyer, were you doing content creation full time at
Yeah.
that time?
Yes.
Okay. And so then all of a sudden you have to like set the structure for yourself because you're self-employed.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I know some people take content really seriously. Like I know, some people they batch film stuff and then they post like 3 times a day or 7 times a day, and
Yeah.
like that's just not how I operate.
Yeah.
The way I operate is very like I do what I feel like.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when I don't feel like it, like I get stressed because I'm not putting anything out there. And so yeah, I'm trying to actually I'm trying to be better about that now, but it's hard. It's hard for me to treat this like a business.
Yeah. Well, the 3 times a day thing is crazy because like obviously with this podcast I've started to do content creation and I don't even know what to talk about 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna, watch me go to the bat? Like, I don't know.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
there's only so much you can talk about.
Yeah.
So, can I ask you this? When you moved out of law and you are now doing content creation and you're working at a coffee shop, how did your family react to that change?
Yeah, I think at that point they just gave up. Like, because like I think I can't remember what year that was, but it was definitely a couple years into content creation that I told my parents I was just gonna do barista stuff for a bit. They were concerned. Obviously, they were like, "What the? Like, you went to law school and now you're gonna make coffee?" And I was like, "Yeah, but it's just temporary, you know. I'm just trying to set a good example for my brother at the time who was struggling to like do things himself. I was trying to show him like you can work anywhere and learn something valuable from it. So, in that way, I spun it with them. But I think, yeah, they were definitely concerned. But then they saw also how much that stuff blew up and how in content creation, unfortunately, you do kind of have to stir the pot once in a while in order to go viral and stuff. So I think they saw it as a business decision. But for sure, they were worried.
How do they feel about it now?
We never really talk about that anymore. Like they do ask me like what's next. and I never know what to say because I don't want to, their expectations, it kind of triggers me to feel like they expect anything of me. So
Yeah.
I just tell them, oh, I'm going to do what I feel like. And that's how I just end the
The
conversation.
conversation.
Yeah. I'm like, don't worry. I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you do like you do got it.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think one of the reasons why that whole story blew up though is because a lot of people romanticize this idea of like quitting your job
Yeah.
and working in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
I actually interviewed one of my friends a few weeks ago, and she literally before she went to law school, she wanted to quit her job and work at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
So like this is something that people, romanticize all the time.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a difference between doing something because it's an escape and doing something because it's a step forward for you.
Yes.
Which one of those was it for you?
It was I was telling myself that it was a stepping stone to my next thing, but I think it really was just an escape. I think like I didn't, have like if it would be different if I was like, okay, I'm going to start my own coffee brand or I'm going to open up my own cafe and I should go get some experience. But it was really just like like would I if I were to die tomorrow, would I be a little sad that I never learned how to make like latte art? Like, yeah, I guess. And so it was truly it was an escape. And I think why people even want that in the first place is because people are so tired of thinking hard.
Yeah.
They're so and the great thing about jobs like that is it felt like meditation because you're busy focused on doing the same thing over and over again. You leave the shift like tired because your feet hurt, but mentally you feel like kind of at least for me that's how I felt. Like I felt clear.
Right.
I didn't go home worried about my clients' well-being. Like I didn't, you know what I mean? Like I just did the job and then I went home. And I think that's probably what the people yearn for. Yeah.
Do you think something can be both at the same time though?
With
Like something could be both an escape and a step
yes,
forward.
absolutely, absolutely. And I don't know if it's like my human brain trying to find meaning in everything, but that time of my life did teach me a lot about like what I don't want to do. I did see a lot of stuff behind the scenes it was a new cafe. I saw a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes and I'm not going to disclose it because I don't want to get sued, but it was just like, it was a lot. And I was like, oh, wow, even if I wanted to entertain the idea of opening up a coffee shop, this is what it takes. And I don't think that's actually what I want to do. And so I did learn a lot. It just wasn't like, it just didn't turn into something. Yeah.
And that's okay, right? Like
Yeah.
I think that I feel this a lot throughout my life, which is that like everything I do has to have some type of purpose and turn into something that ultimately makes me money.
Yeah.
Or like, makes me smarter or richer
Yes.
or whatever it is. But that's not the case at all. And
Yeah.
like you said, the act of like feeling like coffee was just in a way, it sounds like in a way it was just like a breath of fresh air for you.
It was, yeah. Very.
Did you ever find that strangers treated you differently when you were a barista compared to when you were a lawyer?
Strangers, I mean, the thing about me is I don't really like go out and talk to strangers. So I like, yeah, like I don't think, I don't think so. Because even at that time, when when I meet new people and they ask me what I do, it was never like, oh, I'm a barista first. It was always like, oh, I create content. I used to be a lawyer and now I'm working part-time as a barista. Like people would just be like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
and I think in hindsight, that's why my mom wanted me to become a lawyer, even if I ended up hating it, is because she wanted me to have that shield of like,
Right.
you know,
Like credibility almost.
yeah, right. So even to this day, she's like, make sure you tell people that you're still a lawyer. And I'm like, why? Like, like I don't care. Like, I'm not really practicing. I'm not a lawyer. And for her, it's just she's like, it just gives you that credibility. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah.
So I don't think people really saw me differently, but people in the legal profession definitely saw me differently.
What do you mean by that?
There was one time where and I made a video about this, which also went viral, but there was one time where an ex-colleague, I guess, sort of colleague, walked into the cafe and she was so shocked to see me there. And she was like, is this what you do now? And I was like, a little, I get, like I'm doing this on the side, like for funsies, for the plot. And she was just like, she looked at me like, I can't get her face out of my mind. She looked at me like with disgust, like almost like,
Wow.
why would you do this to yourself?
Right.
And even when I like brought her a muffin or something, she like couldn't even look me in the eyes. She's like thanks,
Wow.
and I was like, whoa, like,
Whoa.
and I went home thinking like, should I be ashamed of myself? And those thoughts turned into a great piece of content. But it did happen, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What was your conclusion from that? Like, did you feel shame?
I think not really, no. I think if I felt ashamed, like I wouldn't have even posted a video about it, right? I think I always understand why people feel the way they feel, even if I don't actually feel it myself. So maybe I just rationalize other people's feelings too much, but I understand it. So I was okay. Like it was
Mhm.
just like that time they were talking shit about me on Discovery. I
Yeah.
was like, that was bound to happen. It's fine.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. You sort of anticipated and you're like, whatever. It's,
Yeah, like the
yeah.
thing about being anxious and also self-hating for most of your life is you are your biggest critic and
Mm.
you basically tell yourself all the hateful things. You anticipate all the hateful things that people could say about you before other people even say
Say it.
it. So when it does happen, you're kind of like, yeah, that's not new. I
Right.
get it, you know?
Like you're shielded from it already.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I just knew that it could happen, yeah.
Yeah. So, something you've shared a lot about recently, but also even in our conversation today, is your autism diagnosis.
Mhm.
First off, when did you get diagnosed?
So it was last summer. So I think I'm coming up on a year almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you know or like become aware that this was something um, you needed to get tested for or you wanted to be tested for?
Yeah, so like when I left my lawyer job, I kind of assumed that my mental health issues would get better
Mm.
because at that time I was like, "Oh, I'm depressed because I feel like I'm not living my most authentic life. Therefore, now that I am, I should be better." But that was not the case.
Mm.
In fact, I think with the lack of routine and just all that, I was actually burning out more frequently, more seriously, and it just never made sense to me. And so I asked my doctors about it. I, talked to some other people and they were like, well, maybe you have ADHD or like maybe you have autism. And I was kind of like, maybe. So I looked into it as most people do. They try to self-diagnose.
Right.
But then I became a little obsessed with it. Like I was researching it like all hours of the day, which apparently is very common for people.
Obsession?
Yeah. Well, no, like obsessing about being on the spectrum, potentially being on the
Oh,
spectrum is actually like very common for people with autism.
yeah. That's very meta.
Yeah, it's like when I first went into my appointment, like the therapist was like, normal people, they don't obsess about whether they're autistic or not. And I was like,
Oh,
oh,
interesting.
interesting. Yeah, interesting. And like I thought about doing it like the public health way, but that would take forever. And I kind of just wanted to know so that I could like get a hold of myself essentially and as quickly as possible. So I paid for a private assessment. I got the diagnosis fairly quickly, and
Mhm.
I've been like working with it ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said that once you left your law job, you thought everything was going to be better and you found yourself burning out more frequently.
Yeah.
Is that a sign of autism? Like how does that manifest?
Yeah. So autism, contrary to a lot of people's beliefs, is not an intellectual disorder. It's a developmental disorder. So it affects the way I receive information and I process information. So, for example, like a normal person might sit here and think that light is fine. But for me, it's like a little bright, and but it's okay. I
It's
understand.
like
It's fine.
dim the
No,
light.
it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
But for me, it's actually not so much lights. Thank goodness. It's sounds. So for me,
Oh.
when I told you earlier, living downtown was very overstimulating for me.
Yeah.
I would jump at every siren. I would, every drug addict on the street like yelling I would like almost burst into tears. Like it
Wow.
was yeah, so sounds are very sensitive for me. And when you live your life like that, like by the time you come home from your outing, it's like you're exhausted.
Yeah.
But it's not just sensory stuff, it's also social. So if I meet someone new or if I go to a social event, go to a party, there's so much going on in my mind. It's not really social anxiety. It's just constant managing my expressions, watching other people's expressions, figuring out, like writing a script in my head, like as I'm talking, like it's very exhausting. And so like you come home and like I said, you just kind of burn out. So like for me right now, I have maybe 3 or 4 days where I'm productive and I can do things and interact with people. And then I have one day where I'm just completely bedridden. Like I can't do anything. Like I can't shower. I can't eat. Like it's very frustrating.
Wow.
And so that cycle was starting to get worse and worse even after I left lawyering. And that's what really, yeah, made me want to get a diagnosis.
Right. When you received that diagnosis, what did that feel like for you? Like, was it more relief? Was it clarity? Like,
Uh, yeah, like I said, I now kind of look back on my old videos with a different lens, and I'm like, oh, like she didn't know. Like I didn't know that this was neurodivergence. I thought I was just, I just had mental. Like it gives you a better understanding of yourself for sure. But something interesting actually happens to a lot of people who get late diagnosed is something called skill regression. And so what happens is like leading up to your diagnosis and for some time after your diagnosis, you feel more autistic. Like
oh,
yeah. So, and then people around you comment like a lot, like you weren't ever this bad. Why are you so bad now that you know? And it's because, you get the diagnosis and you start to learn that maybe the way you are isn't natural. You put down the mask and things start to come up. Like a lot of repressed things start to come up. So for some time, I was really unable to work. There was a time where I wasn't posting content for like a month. I was having mental breakdowns way more frequently, like actually anger outbursts. Like I would punch pillows, like I would throw pillows, like it was a really difficult time.
wow.
And so even though, yeah, like I was glad I understood myself in a different way, day to day, it was kind of challenging.
Right. Like it's one thing to understand, but it's another thing to know how to deal with it in practice.
Yeah, especially when you have no resources, right? Like it's only like now I'm in therapy, but at that time I wasn't. And so, yeah, navigating all that alone was a bit tough.
Did you have anyone that you knew at the time who had gone through something similar to you?
My best friend has ADHD, and she was diagnosed a while ago. But her and I are very similar. ADHD and autism, they have a lot of overlap. So, like, she understands a lot of what I go through and the stigma that she has to put up with, at work and things like that. So I always talk to her about that. But I don't have anyone in my life currently on the spectrum that I can talk to about this kind of stuff,
Right.
except my people online. Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
And I guess I wanted to ask about that too. Like by sharing this publicly, what do you hope people will take away?
Just like with the mental health stuff, I just wanted to normalize, talking about this stuff. And like the reality is, a lot of people have some sort of neurodivergence and they just go undiagnosed their entire lives. And that's okay. Like you don't need a diagnosis to even identify as, someone with ADHD or someone on the spectrum. Because if you know, you kind of know, and you can, accommodate yourself accordingly. But I didn't want people to feel like the black sheep, or I didn't want people to gaslight themselves every day because it makes you sick. Like
Yeah.
it just eats away at you every single day. It makes life way harder than it needs to be. So, and yeah, especially being Asian, right? Like I mean, mental health is taboo. Like autism is even more
Totally.
like I haven't even talked about it with a lot of my family members, even though I know they watch my content. It's just so weird to talk about.
Yeah.
But my goal with that is like on a personal level, I hope that through my videos, like the close people in my life will learn what autism really
Really looks
can
like.
look like. I mean, I don't represent everyone on the spectrum, but this is what it can look like.
Yeah.
And then on a less personal, more, macro level, I just hope that people, yeah, start talking about it. Like a lot of people come to my page saying, your videos make me wonder if, I'm not depressed and if I actually have autism. And it's like, I'm not a professional, so I can't really help you, but asking yourself those questions will hopefully lead you to a place where you will understand yourself better,
Yeah.
and life can feel a bit lighter. So,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, I love that. As we near the end of this interview, I want to talk a bit about where you are now. So something you mentioned at the beginning of the episode is that you still feel lost. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, like influencing and content creation is great. I'm very blessed to be able to do this, but it was never my be all end all kind of career goal. Like I didn't even leave lawyering to become an influencer. Like I left because I needed to.
Yeah.
And this opportunity happened to fall into my lap at the time. And it's what I've been doing. But like throughout the process, like there are things about this job that I hate.
Can you give an example?
Like I love the storytelling aspect of brand deals, and I love the marketing aspect of it, but just kind of feeling inauthentic is really challenging for me, especially as an autistic person, because being authentic is the most important thing for me, feeling like I'm actually being myself. So sometimes I feel like, okay, what is my purpose here, to like advertise a moisturizer? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, there has to be more. There's also just the influencer culture that I find really difficult to navigate, hence why I don't go to influencer events anymore. Yeah,
What does that look like? Like for somebody who doesn't know who's not in that world.
yeah, I don't want to like just talk shit about it, but it's imagine a networking event, except everybody is like, it feels like everybody is competing to be the most beautiful, the most well liked, the most popular. You're constantly being sized up in terms of like your follower count, like
Right.
it just like
That sounds like hell.
yeah, I always
really
hated
does.
networking, but
Yeah.
like influencer events are like totally
On steroids.
yeah, it was really, it's really tough.
Yeah.
So just stuff like that I don't love about this, but I did learn in the last 5 years of doing this that I do enjoy creating meaningful pieces of art, I guess, like, you know, the content that resonates with people, community building, marketing, storytelling. And I think the next thing for me is probably taking what I learned and actually helping other people, because I think what I miss about what I miss about lawyering, if anything, is feeling like I was actually being helpful to people.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like, yeah, like the things I put out are helping people, but I kind of want to have more direct contact with people. So I tried consulting a little bit on the side,
Okay.
helping other people start out with their own content journeys. And it's not like I don't.
I might need to take you up on that.
Yeah, like to be honest, I don't really have a lot of great advice about how to go viral, because I feel like every time I've gone viral, it's just been an accident. But I think what I do, what I can offer the world is helping people figure out what that story is that they want to tell, and how to be vulnerable online, and how to be authentic online, which is really tough.
Yes.
So that's something that I foresee in my future, I think.
Yeah. No, I like that. And so on this podcast, I have a tradition where every guest gets the same last question.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be sort of like a reframing of the typical interview question of like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Hence the 5-year plan.
Right.
So if I were to sit down and interview you in 5 years' time, what would have to happen in your life to make you feel proud?
Hold on, 32, 33, 34, 35, 6. Okay, 36. Whoa. To be proud. Like career-wise, right? Probably.
Anything.
Well, like I do want kids, you know? Like I do, I think in the next 5 years, I hope that I would have healthily made a child. And like career wise, I just hope that by then I can confidently say that I have helped hundreds of people, you know? Because right now I know I touch thousands of people's lives for a few seconds when they watch my content throughout the day. But I would like to be able to say, like, I have helped hundreds of people, you know, do what they want to do to feel more authentic in their lives. And that's a really good question, actually, and something that I just realized that's what I want to happen in the next 5 years. So thank you for that, actually. Yeah.
I'm glad. Well, Henna, thank you so much for sitting down and speaking with me. You know, I started this episode talking about how authentic of a creator you are, and you just strike me as such an authentic and genuine person.
Thank you.
It was lovely meeting you, and I can't wait to see what's to come.
You as well. And I'm also really excited to see where you end up in 5 years, because I wouldn't say it's like normal for a practicing criminal lawyer to start a podcast like this and to stick with it. So
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you.